You will earn money, you will be able to provide for your families, and I will turn this entire sport around. I've essentially said to them, I'm going to change your lives. So I now have to deliver on that. The World Nine Ball Tour is like my baby. For years, special events was kind of like the joke of Matchroom. The sports that Barry didn't want to let go of, the 10-pin bowling, the ping pong, they were all good events, but the pool was different. Multi-sport turned into something quite cool. I've always found that the ethos at Matchroom is that you always learn from your mistakes. I want to be the best at everything I do. So I have this massive job on my hands, turning the World Nine Ball Tour into a global professional sport. I know how long it's taken the darts and the snooker to get to where they are, but I want to do it much quicker than that. I like being the underdog. Everyone always roots for the underdog. I'm hoping that people who watch the Netflix show kind of rooting for multi-sport because we are the underdog. We've got the likes of Barry, who has created an absolute monster in all these different sports. How can I not succeed at pool? How can I not?
Fascinating.
Emily, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the Business of Sport.
No, it's exciting. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. It is the completion of the trifecta today, as I said. We've had Frank Smith, CEO of boxing. We've had Matt Porter, CEO of darts. And now we have you, CEO of Matchroom Multisport.
Best till last.
Well, it is. I was going to say we had to wade through the others to finally get to the one we most wanted. Tell us, what is multisport?
Oh gosh, how long do you have?
Well, a bit.
It's interesting. Multisport formed, I'd say it really kind of expanded in the last 5 years or so. When I actually first went into that part of Matchroom, it was actually called special events, because there was always like one event per sport, essentially. And I remember coming in and it was, okay, we've got one fishing event a year, Fishermania. That is still ongoing, by the way, and it's probably Barry's favourite event.
Is this the one with the celebs and you do it in teams?
No, that was Sports Star Fishing that I actually competed in and came third, by the way. But this is Fishermania, and essentially we run qualifiers all around the UK throughout the year, and there's like 24 anglers and they all compete for one day for 5 hours for £50,000. Which is like, it's a shed load of money. And it's developed over the years. We now put in like the female world champion, the junior world champion, and it's become quite a cool event. Everyone at Sky Sports always wants to work on it. They're like, I want to be on Fishermania. So I came into special events and had a Fishermania. We had the World Championship of Ping Pong. Obviously, I'd never done a ping pong event. The Weber Cup, which is 10-pin bowling. That was Europe versus USA. Obviously, knowing Barry, he was a golf fan, and the Ryder Cup was where he got the idea from, the Weber Cup and the Mosconi Cup from. And then we did 3 pool events, the Mosconi Cup, which is our creme de la creme, the Whirlpool Masters, and the World Cup of Pool. That was when I first came in. And it was fun. It just felt like there was like a kind of a season for special events. It kind of ran from July to the end of the year. January for a couple of months was quite like an easy sort of time. And it was interesting how over the years it then developed. We got involved into gymnastics, and we actually worked alongside British Gymnastics and did their World Cup at the O2. That was one of my first events that was completely brand new for me. So it was the first event I wasn't taking over from someone else, completely, come up with the arena, everything. And there was 3 of us in a team, I remember. So, you're selling out the O2. You got like all these gymnasts coming off of the back of the Rio Olympics, and you had like Max Whitlock, Amy Tinkler. And it was incredible. And then off the back of that, we were like, let's get involved in netball. Let's get involved in basketball. And then special events all of a sudden turned into multi-sport, which is really quite interesting because it felt like we were the pros at doing these different types of sports, like a one-off. And which is really quite challenging because you can go from a gymnastics setup in the O2, which, by the way, I learned so many different things about the equipment, how long the equipment takes to get set up. Like, honestly, if you give me a sport, I can say how quickly we can rig it in, like what the install dates need to be in by for all these different sports, just because you learn so much. And then you go to the fishing lake and it's a completely different install. So, you know, it makes you really dynamic and you learn so many different things in just live sport. And you're also working with so many different associations. You know, the difference between a netball association to the basketball was extremely different. The athletes are different. And you just learn so many things. And, you know, multi-sport turned into something quite cool. For years, special events was kind of like the joke of Matchroom. They were like the sports that basically Barry didn't want to let go of, like fishing. And he obviously started the pool off of the back of the snooker. You know, Steve Davis was his, you know, superstar, and Steve Davis competed in the first ever Mosconi Cup. And, you know, he was pulling in all the favours, left, right, centre, from like Ronnie, Steve, to come and play in this 9-ball pool event. And the Mosconi has got to a point now, like it's been running for like 32 years, where you can sell the arena off the back of, you know, these 9-ball pool players. So essentially multisport then formed as this department that was like, cool. We created the Superstars of Gymnastics, which was basically like your Strictly Come Dancing of gymnastics. And the idea was, and I remember Barry and I like brainstorming about it. It was like a judges panel, and we were like, yeah, and they'll have the cards and it's 1 to 10 and you can lift it up, and basically the gymnasts can do whatever they want. So Barry and I are like, yeah, this is great. And then you sit down with the gymnasts and they're like, so what can we do? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not a gymnast. And
put the event on.
Yeah, you just like put the event on, we're going to sell the tickets. And they're like, yeah, but you know, the different apparatus, what are we going to do? And I was like, oh crap, like I haven't really thought this through. And
download Olympics videos.
No, but it actually, like, I do feel like whatever we do works out for us because we're just so passionate about it. And what we found was that we could bring in like retired gymnasts who had won like golds in the Olympics. I remember there was Fabian Hambushin. He'd won a gold in the Olympics on the rings or something like that. And he came in and he did this like world-class performance, but because there was no boundaries as to what he had to do in terms of like the marking and the scoring. And the girls, like some of the girls did these routines on the vault, which was like completely different. And all of a sudden we had Simone Biles on the judges panel. And who would have thought in a world at the O2 Arena, Simone got booed by the crowd because she gave someone like a 9 and all the other judges gave someone a 10, but it was one of the gymnasts that was like a fan's favourite. And I remember she gave him like a 9 and started booing. And she's like, oh, okay. and I remember like Eddie come along to the event, and it was really, really good. It was like this 1-day event, and you know, we spoke about doing more of them, but then like COVID kicked in. It's like obviously a good couple of years ago, and we never had the opportunity to kind of do it. But then you kind of look at the pool, and we had all these different sports, and the 10-pin bowling, the ping pong, they were all good events and they were fun, but they weren't moving. And every year we sold the same amount of tickets. The social media numbers were good. The players had a great time. And, you know, you're at the event and you're in it and you're like, this is, you know, the best thing since sliced bread. But the pool was different. We were doing these 3 events and then we started noticing the needle was moving a bit more than the others. And you look at the invitational events and we were saying, well, how do these players get into these events? There's no ranking system. There's no qualification system. It's just picking your 16 best players. There's actually some talent here. How do we make this grow? So we acquired like a US Open pool championship. And you acquire the US Open. That was our first ever multi-table event. And oh my gosh, by the way, the worst event I've ever done in my life. It was really difficult. I'm surprised I didn't get the sack after it because of the figures. Spent too much money on it. I had no idea what I was doing. Gosh, I really hope actually Barry doesn't listen to this. But
how old were you? When was this? Was this early?
This was maybe like 2018, 2019. So I was like 28, 29.
So you're in the stage where if you make a mistake, you shouldn't have bet a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
not that you're not now, obviously.
I still make mistakes every day, I'll be real. But I remember the shipping container got lost. Like it actually got lost. So we were shipping all of this stuff from the UK because we're in Vegas doing this event, Mandalay Bay. And it's like 30 tables in this massive convention centre. And we'd only ever done one table events in 9-ball pool. So the Mosconi, the World Cup and the Masters were all just the one table in the centre of an arena. You know, it's pretty straightforward logistically. Now I'm looking after 30 tables, a small team. You got to have a referee at every table. You got to have a shot clock at every table, because the way these pool tournaments used to run, they would run over 10, 12 days. And obviously in our world, the business world, you need to shorten that down because, you know, days cost money. So you add a shot clock to every table to speed things up. So, you know, like Barry's like, you can't have longer than 6 days. So, okay, we'll make the US Open 256 players into a 6-day event. And it used to be an 11-day event. Okay, challenge number 1. So all of a sudden you've got to have all these staff on it and, you know, the setup, you've got 30 tables. And obviously I don't do anything half-assed. And it was the first time Matchroom was staging this event and I wanted to make it look really cool. And actually, when I think back to it, it was so backwards the way that I actually ran that event. I actually built the multi-table part in one arena and then built the single table in another arena. So I built essentially 2 arenas, which is completely wild to think that, like, I now know that is the most stupid thing ever and so not cost effective. But I learned from that and then obviously changed it moving forward. But it was the first time I've ever done this multi-table setup. And yeah, like I said, the shipping container got lost. No one in our team knew where it was. So essentially, like, our set that surrounds the table hadn't come out, all the sponsorship branding, loads of like little things that you take for granted that you put on those shipping containers just didn't show up. So me and Will Cope, who was like head of the staging side of transport that we work with, he was like pulling his hair out, and we basically just made a TV set out of trestle tables, and we was just stapling like branding onto it. But there was one point, and I remember it because this photo literally would just not get off the internet. I just sat there and I just started crying because I was like, I don't really know what to do. And I remember I was in this hat and like a hoodie and like trackies, and this photographer, a little fucker, like has snuck into the room and taken a picture, and I'm literally like crying my eyes out on this table. And it's just like, you know, it felt like the worst day in the world. And so that was always like a point where it kind of changed and it felt like a big challenge.
But is that not, to me as an outsider looking in, that seems like something that's, I wouldn't say accepted, but you took a position that technically, if you're looking at experience, you didn't have the training or experience for. Just like the same for, you know, Frank chasing, was it Eddie, or Barry around Greyhound tracks, or you know, Matt doing the press officer and then building into the positions. Like, everyone's been given this opportunity by the looks of things at a young age, way ahead of when an expectation to actually execute would have been. So mistakes are going to be a part of that. That can often make those mistakes and even more painful because you can feel it a little bit more. But did it also help you kind of be better? Did it help you learn how to do these things properly?
Yeah, and I think at the time it's like the worst thing in the world, and I can laugh about it now, but it's more that I've always found that the ethos at Matchroom is that you always like learn from your mistakes. So, you know, when I came back from that, or actually Barry came over to attend that event, and I remember him getting there for the final stages, and he was like, this looks good, you know, how was it? And I remember being like, it was horrible. And he was like, well, you learn from it, and I did. And, you know, I think you just put so much pressure on yourselves because, like, personally for me, I want to be the best at everything I do. I don't want, like, every year, even if it's the same event, if it's the Mosconi Cup, and I've done that event probably like 7 or 8 times now, every year has got to be better than the last year. And if it's not, then why? And if that doesn't happen, if it doesn't improve every year, every event, then I shouldn't be in the job that I am in, because how am I going to push a sport forward if I'm just complacent, or I don't notice what was wrong and how to improve on it? And I'll be like my harshest critic. Every single event that I do, I will sit down and be like, I've done this wrong and I need to improve on that. Like even the last event that I did was the Philippines Open, and that was the first time we've done this event, and it was the first time we've done it in a shopping mall. And myself, my team, we've never done an event in a shopping mall before. I mean, we literally turned up and we were like, okay, so where's our event office? And it's literally the coffee shop, which by the way was the best coffee shop ever. That's like, we're on a table like this smaller, and people are just walking past. They're in a shopping mall. That is literally your office. I mean, how do you sit and work like that? And for the week, I actually sat with the media team, and we were joking. I was saying that I'm part of their team now, because you just adapt and you learn. But like, I'm sat there and I'm looking around, and there's certain things that I get so frustrated about. And even on my flight home, I'll sit there and I'll be like, I should have done that better. Why didn't I think of that? I should have thought about that. And you kick yourself for it, but you'll do so much better next time. But it's more that I take pride in what I do, and so I should be the best at what I do. I should be working in a cost-effective way. And also I have this massive job on my hands, which is turning the World 9-Ball Tour into a global professional sport. So I feel that every decision I make is basically so important to doing that. If I make the wrong decision, then I can take us back. I could step us back 2 years. I shouldn't. I should be accelerating. Like, I know how long it's taken the darts and the snooker to get to where they are, just because of like the stories that Barry tells me. But I want to do it much quicker than that, because I think that we have these other sports under our roof that we can learn from, and they're there to ask questions. Barry didn't have a future Barry sat there at every decision he was making, or like, you know, Matt, the sort of decisions he's made, I don't know, 4 years ago. Like, I can go pick his brain on things like that. So we shouldn't be so, you know, we shouldn't disregard that and take that for granted, because we have two incredible sports. I don't really refer to the boxing because it's so different to us, but with the snooker and darts, we can relate to slightly with the pool.
I can ask on that, because it's a really interesting point on like the whole business model. And often I look at these things that you guys do, and I'm like, it's like you own the sport. You know, you as if you're the governor, as if it's Matchroom's darts, but you know, it's not. I know, and there are broader parts to it than just what you do. But how have you been able to do that?
Well, I think the thing is that we all believe in is like global domination, which is such like a savage way to put it. But the thing is, and I'll go back to maybe like the netball and gymnastics time. When we were doing those sports, it was really hard to make commercial changes to things, because sometimes, and even, with the pool as well, you have your hardcore fans who you never want to upset, by the way, and who are, you know, the heart of the sport. But everyone has to understand that for a sport to really, truly go global, you have to get out of the comfort zone. Everyone knows that as an individual. You all know that when you level up, you're out of your comfort zone. You feel all weird, you feel all anxious, and something is changing, and that change is normally always for the better. And it's the same with the sport. We're so commercialized, and we are out of the sport where we can think bigger picture. There's decisions that I've made in the pool that the hardcore fan base or some players will never understand, because they're too within it. And by us having these other sports to look at, you can ask those questions. I've always tried to get it in to the sport, but there's a guy called Jake who's in multi-sport, and he's who I would lean on the most in terms of the pool element, like the sporting element. He's like the longest person in the team, second to me. And in ping pong, in the Superstars of Gymnastics, in netball, in basketball, we introduced the golden buzzer. And it was just like totally like, I remember I was at Ali Pali doing the ping pong event, and I was looking at the netball format. And we took it from bowls, which is one of the events that Matchroom did. We used to do Premier League bowls. And I worked on that in the TV department with Katie Hearn. And we used to televise it. And I'm telling you, used to go to Cyprus. It was like this great week. And you'd literally just be filming bowls. And there was a point where everyone would go, the player would decide to basically make double points. And they would hit this and they would just announce it. And it'd be power play. And these 30 people in the audience would go, power play. And it was the most funniest thing. And I remember being there at like...
Why?
I don't know, it just worked. And I think I was like 22, 23, and I remember just sitting there being like,
I can't work
what the fuck is going on? And it worked for bowls, right? And so when we're looking at the netball and basketball format, I was like, power play, okay, that worked in bowls, but how do we make this work in netball? And basically we created this golden buzzer, and it was like, right, a visual thing sits in between the two teams, and basically for 2 minutes, they could earn double points. So it was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And like year one, we introduced it. Technically, the golden buzzer didn't actually work. So you had like the coach like slamming the buzzer, and like no one was looking at the time. And so logistically, it was really bad. But to get back to my point, because we're a commercial organisation and we think outside the box, I could introduce that into netball because I wasn't so far into the sport. The same with the pool. I keep saying to my team, I'm like, how do we put the golden buzzer in? And Jake is like, Emily, stop it. Like, he's like, I'm going to tell you when you're going too far. He's like, you can't do it. But, you know, I think recently we did the Ryder Cup event, which was Asia versus the rest of the world. And we had non-playing captains. And they shouldn't really play in the event. And then the day before the event, us and the team come up with this idea. And basically, do you know what it means when you lag for the break in pool? No. So essentially, it's whoever wins the lag gets to break first. And so basically, there's two cue balls on the table, and they have to basically hit the cue ball, and it's the closest to the opposite end of the cushion.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah. And so that's the lag, right?
So
so it's like,
done that for my whole life. I never knew what it was called.
And it's like, it's something that we do for the team events, and it happens in all of our pool tournaments. And the night before, we were like, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to decide that team captains are going to lag. And so to get back to like my point of things is that we're always trying to think outside the box and trying to bring in like the commercial side. And, you know, that video clip of those two captains, because one of them was Django, who's like a legend in the Philippines. No one really sees him play anymore. So that video clip of him lagging goes viral in that sport. So it's all about us always trying to think outside the box. And when you are in a sport, you have to be able to have that control to do those things, because so many people want to kind of stop you. And if you put those blinkers on, try not to listen to too many different things, and you can make those decisions that are for the better of the sport.
So what's your master plan? This is 9-ball pool is going to be a global sport. You've got a brilliant case in front of you that is now killing it in darts. But when you're looking at this now and you're saying, okay, right, I want this to compete. I want this to be the conversation when you sit down for your board meeting at the end of the year, where they're looking at the numbers going, fucking hell, I can't ignore this. How do you do that?
Good fucking question. You got to be like 80% a little bit crazy.
80?
Yeah, good. I'd say 80% in definitely 9-ball pool. Maybe in like 2 years, I'll drop it down to 50. Sometimes Barry and I have these conversations, and I always refer to Barry, so I think me and him are most passionate about the pool. I mean, I think he sees it as his next sort of legacy.
Yeah.
And he was involved obviously with the darts and the snooker from the start, so he can see, you know, where they were when we like at this stage. And so he's obviously got a lot more faith. But sometimes we talk about things and I go, are we a little bit crazy? Because it's like only me and him are that crazy to think that this could actually be a proper sport, because who would think that like 9-ball pool would be like that? But if we don't genuinely believe that it's going to be the next big thing, then it's not going to happen. So I think you got to be realistic at the end of the day, but then you've also got to dream big. When you're looking at the realistic side of things, I know we're not the front runner in the UK. You know, we play second to snooker. Snooker is this elegant sport. It's very different to 9-ball pool, but it sits within that Q Sports bracket. Darts obviously is incredible here, and the Premier League that sells out all around the UK is incredible. Well, and Europe it goes to. I'd love for us to be able to do that. I know in the back of my mind that won't happen here in the UK, but it will happen in the US. And I know it will happen in Southeast Asia, where we could do a Premier League in different states, for example. But I can't ignore the fact that we need to be better here in the UK. So that's where you go back to your point of thinking more outside the box. So, okay, I might have pissed off a lot of people in the sport by doing it, but let's get Andy Goldstein in for the Florida Open. Let's get him in to play the UK Open, because Andy always loved the snooker. Not the pool, the snooker. And he fronted the Mosconi Cup for a couple of years, but off of the back of him loving snooker, he's now fallen in love with the pool. And he's got a taste for winning because he won a match. And I think he won actually 2 matches.
I was going to say, but he actually played, right?
Yeah, he actually played.
And this is against some proper players.
He's in because, we wild card him in, we put him in the unseeded section because he's not a pro. That's where, I hold myself thing. I think, we're putting him in, but we got to put him in the unseeded section. So he played a pro in the first round of the Florida Open. He actually got drawn against Earl Strickland, which probably I don't think you know who he is, but he's one of the all-time greats in 9-ball pool. He's known for being completely outrageous on TV. He's broken his cue live on TV. I love that, excellent, by the way. I don't have enough of that now. He's a massive character, and Andy knows him. And, he went on TalkSport, and I actually found out the draw. And I said to the guys, I was like, don't tell me until I'm literally sat in that studio, because I'd seen Andy 30 minutes beforehand, and I knew he was going to ask me, and I didn't want to give anything away. So I literally looked at my phone and I was like, oh my gosh, he's got Earl Strickland. He's got Earl the Pearl. And he lost his shit, basically. And he played him in his first game, and it was brilliant. He lost that first match, but it's double elimination in our open tournaments. And the pros basically get to play like an amateur, i.e. an Andy Goldstein. Andy then goes to play his second match, which is against someone that's a bit more level to him, because they're in the losers bracket, and it's like another amateur essentially. And I sat and I watched every rack of that, and it was live on TalkSport, and the viewers went up, and it was really cool. And he won it. And all of a sudden he had this inspiration, this motivation, because I think the great thing about our tournaments in pool is that we give you an opportunity to go and play a hero. So in all of the other sports, you would never dream that you'd be able to go and play the likes of Ronnie O'Sullivan, or pick up a tennis racket and go and play against Federer. You would never dream of that. And I know Earl Strickland isn't Federer and isn't these big name sports, but within those sports, like Andy Goldstein, who is, hosting probably the biggest drive time, the biggest radio show, he knows who Earl the Pearl is, and he gets a chance to go and play in a match like that, which, by the way, was one of his biggest highlights that he's done. But
it also, for you, now we look at what sport is now, and it's not just about the best athletes, right? And it is driven by external factors. It's driven by social media. It's driven by noise that is created from people getting involved who haven't spent 20 years practicing to get to that moment, whether people like it or not. We've seen it in boxing. We completely understand the value and the challenges that presents it. But sometimes, for something like this, when you're looking to grow it, you probably do have to sacrifice quality. Having Barry play.
Don't say quality. Baz is a great pool player.
He won a frame, didn't he? But sometimes you do have to probably sacrifice that quality to create narrative.
Yeah, I think Barry was a different thing, whereas that was on his bucket list, and to play in the US Open, and that's the first one that he played in, and for me that felt really special that we managed to tick off something, because he's he said it at the Mosconi Cup press conference. He was like, I've got all of this, I've achieved so much in life, and now I'm going through my bucket list and I want to play in the US Open. I was like, what? He literally told me minutes before the press conference. Yeah. You see in the Netflix show, you see Eddie kind of taking the piss out of him because we put the governor on the back, but he loved it. And his favourite song is The Gambler, Kenny Rogers. And I literally paused play throughout the entire arena at the US Open, which, by the way, a lot of promoters should never do. But I was like, this is Barry Hearn. He's founded the company. He is the reason why we are all in this arena for 9-ball pool. So yeah, I'm going to pause play and I'm going to play his walk-on track. We're going to announce him into the arena, and he felt cool, and he made this 2-9 combo that was incredible. It went into the Netflix show. His reaction was priceless. I remember sending it to Eddie straight away, and he was just like, oh my gosh, kind of thing.
Well, they had a lunch on it.
Yeah, they did have a lunch. And, so that was something a little bit different, but it did give us the opportunity to get people in like an Andy Goldstein, which...
Did it drive engagement?
Of course it did.
More than you would normally have got.
Yes. Yeah. So it 100% worked. And the thing is about 9-ball pool, and by the way, this is going to happen to you as well. Once we get you in a little bit, listen, you just get me a person near 9-ball pool. I'll just get a foot in the door and I will get you hooked. Like, I will get you hooked on 9-ball pool.
Okay, let's go straight into it. You've got Mosconi Cup.
3rd of December.
3rd of December. You've still got tickets.
Yes, there are still tickets available. I think it's because the teams aren't fully announced yet, and it is kind of like leading up to Christmas. Everyone wants to get their little Christmas presents in, but I'm telling you, come along to the Mosconi Cup. You can pick one of the days, the 3rd to the 6th of December. Bring some friends, and I'm telling you, if you do not have a good time, then I don't know, I'll make a bet on it. Like, you will have, it's 4 hours basically, Ali Pali, and it's your kind of in between snooker and darts, more on the darts side. Listen, if you don't like loud music or people on the jolly, then don't come. But listen, I know I'm a promoter and I'm going to sell it, but the hospitality package, you basically get like unlimited alcohol for like 4 hours. And it's actually like a really good setup at Ali Pali. You come after work, you come along in between the racks, so it's not frames, by the way, it's racks. Okay. So with the Mosconi Cup, it's okay, I forgive you. Yeah. With the Mosconi Cup, it's race to 5. So it's really short races, and so it keeps it all really fast. And so obviously it's Europe versus USA, and we have 5 matches a day. So they're basically on and off all the time. And so in between every rack, the music goes on, we do dance cam, we do kiss cam, we do everything. And I've seen some outrageous stuff at the Mosconi Cup. I've seen some poor performances when it comes to dancing that will just live rent-free in my head. But the thing is everyone just has a great time. And, with it being versus USA, we get fans coming over from the US.
It's like Ryder Cup, right? It is Ryder Cup of pool. Essentially.
But it's just a bit more lively, I would say. So listen, come along to one day and I promise you, I'll get you hooked in. So you finish the year with your Mosconi Cup, and then all of next year you'll be following Matchroom Pool and you'll be going, oh, wonder what player's doing well at that. Oh, they're doing the Hanoi Open. Oh, they got the World Cup. They got this. So I can get you hooked on. That is what I'm very good at.
I'm easily hooked. So that's good. How important is it to leverage the athletes to help you do that? Sports stars now are massive, right? Profiles, often bigger than if they're playing in teams, some of the teams that they play for.
We've got so many great personalities in our sport, and that's what annoys me the most. I look at some of the other sports, not so much in Matchroom, just like other sports around the world, and I'm like, this is tedious. I have got some absolute incredible players who, there's one guy who's captain in Team USA this year, Skylar Woodward. And he says to me, USA haven't won for quite a few years. So I'm going to be so real. I'm biased towards a USA win because I'm a promoter. I want it to be competitive at the end of the day. And he says to me, he goes, Emily, I'm not going to try and do his accent.
Please.
No, I can't. Hey, Emily. No, I can't do it.
Which part of America is he from?
Virginia, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And he's like, if we win the Mosconi Cup this year, I'm going to get on the table and I'm going to down a jug of beer. And I'm like...
A jug?
Yeah. I'm like, Skylar, if you win the Mosconi Cup this year, I will get on the table with you and I will also chug that. Because I'm so behind them. But...
What are their chances?
They're slim. No. Do you know what? I'm confident because Europe have 2 rookies on their side this year. So Remember I was saying at the start of the podcast that at the beginning of the pool events, it was selecting players. Now there's a qualification system because we have the World Nine Ball Tour rankings. So now they get in off order of merit. So for Europe, it's the top 3 Europeans on our world rankings that qualify. 2 of those are completely new players, never played in Mosconi Cup. They are the definition of the World Nine Ball Tour because they've played the ranking tournaments and they've got enough order of merit. They are the ones, they're in their mid-20s. They're the ones that the younger pool players are looking up to for inspiration. They're saying, they are showing the world, I go and play the tour, I earn my spot into the invitational event. You get 20,000 for just securing your spot into the Mosconi Cup. And you get extra, obviously, if you win. So there's 2 rookies who have never played in a Mosconi. And listen, when I step out into that arena, I get like the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. That arena and the way that the seating banks are, it's like everyone is sat on top of you. And I get nervous being there. So let alone being one of those players and having to like make the winning 9 ball, or, it could be so... One miss could change the whole game because it's over 4 days. You could be 3-all, and so it's race to 11 overall. So across those 4 days, it's the first team to get to 11 points. So after day 1, it could be on the last game and it could be 3-3. And all of a sudden, you could be the rookie player and you're having to drop that winning 9 ball, which could be a really easy 9. The arena is going mental, but then what happens is they cheer and they go crazy, and then it goes like, it's different to the darts. They go silent. And so, the darts is this constant, there. They're chanting. The player gets down, goes to make their shot, and it goes silent. And then you can literally hear a pin drop. And think of that pressure, like my heart goes faster at that point. So you think of the player, brand new event, everything's riding on them. He's got the whole team behind him. And he misses that shot. Then all of a sudden, other team comes up, wins the point, and it's 4-3, for instance, and they're going into day 2 with a loss. And that kind of pressure is too difficult. And that's tough. And they haven't been in those kind of arenas before. So it could be competitive, I'm actually getting excited about it.
So the players, they can make a good career. It's good money on tour now. Like, it's a viable job.
I won't sit here and lie. It's not like other sports, but it's so much better than what they were earning. Our world championship is $250,000 to win that. And like I said, with the Mosconi Cup, you get 20,000 to secure your spot. And the same with the Ryder Cup, you get a guarantee. So we have all these open events that were inspired from the US Open that we initially acquired, where I had my meltdown. All of our other opens came off of the back of that. So the Hanoi Open, the UK, the European, the Philippines Open, and we go to all these different territories around the world where we know that there's a demand for 9-ball pool. And so the players go to those opens, earn their ranking points, and then essentially get into these invitationals where they get extra bonuses from their sponsorships, from their sponsors, because it's the highest, viewership. The Mosconi Cup is the one that Sky Sports will put on the main event for, and they'll have the build up, and, the production's always top class, and all of the players want to make a Mosconi Cup, and they want to make now a Ryder Cup, which has only just happened in its 2nd year this year. It's in a much stronger place than it was, years ago before, Barry really got involved in pool. The promoters that were around, like, players weren't even sure if they were going to get paid. Money matches were a big thing, where it was more just going to a pool hall or a pool room in the US, playing in a money match. But now with the World 9-ball Tour and what we've launched, and something that we've seen a lot more in the US and the other locations we go to, is we hold ranking events. And so essentially local organisers, owners of pool halls, they will refurb their whole pool hall and their pool centre to host a ranking tournament. And all of our top pros will go there to obviously earn their ranking points to get into these invitationals. But what those ranking events do is they find local good players, because we host those all around the world. So we could hold a ranking event in Vietnam at the same time as one in Florida. They will attract different players, but they also get those players onto the board. They get them onto that ranking system, and then we can identify these players. There are so many talented pool players around the world. And so obviously we want to just showcase all of these professional events. We want to, if players want to still do money matches, that's for them to do, but we want to create an actual career for them. I mean, certainly when I first came in, I think only the top 10 pool players were actually 100% pool players. So they had their own sponsorship, which may have been like 10 or 20,000 a year of like cues, like patches that they have across their shirts. Now, I'd say the top 128 players on our tour are fully professional, because there's enough tournaments for them to make a living out of. And I won't sit here and say that it's prize money's where it should be, but we're a growing tour. It's in its third year.
And prize money can improve the better that you do as a business. So if you're looking at it and you're going, right, okay, so from Matchroom's side, the pool, let's say the pool share that you have control over, you're looking at events, you're looking at sponsorship, commercial, media. Are those the three kind of core revenue drivers for you?
Anything really. No, I'm joking.
Well,
I think the difficult thing with the pool is that it's not NFL, it's not the NBA. So listen, it's not easy to get commercial sponsorship and things like that. But obviously, one of the main things is ticket drive. Spectators coming in. The Mosconi Cup, the biggest source of revenue is the spectators, is the ticket revenue.
What does it cost? Ticket price?
It's quite cheap actually. It's come along for 40 quid.
40 quid.
2,000
seats.
Yeah,
per
obviously
day.
There's like VIP, and you get a nice sofa, and you get like a waiter coming to the table. Listen,
and
I'll
4
take.
hours of.
Getting tanked up basically, but it's about what works in the different territories that we go to as well. For instance, what we do with the Mosconi Cup in the US and the UK doesn't work for the Ryder Cup that we host in the Philippines. That's only in year 2.
What are the key differences?
It's just different locations. We have lots of events here. We know that if we want to go to Hyde Park for Winter Wonderland, we've got to pay a ticket. And we know that like going to a live sporting gig, you go and pay for a ticket. Whereas, to go and watch the basketball in Manila is a very different ticket price. So that's a completely different strategy. The different thing that we have to deal with the pool is that because we are in so many different locations, you have to adapt to those. It's very different for US buyers to what a UK sort of spectator would go and pay for. So essentially it's about thinking, okay, viewership, obviously the main thing is the broadcasters, getting them on board. Sky have been great for the 9-ball pool, and they've pushed that all the way. They recently took the Ryder Cup, and then obviously we'll have the Mosconi Cup coming up as well. But you have to have that viewership in order to attract those sponsors. And listen, we're not a major global sport yet.
Does it make money?
What, Paul? No.
What do you need to do to make it make money? Would you say the media piece, the better distribution, long-term deals? Is there one thing that you can lock into, or do you look at it?
No, I think it's like everything. You have to channel absolutely everything to turn this into a proper business, because, it's like we touch base on the prize money side of things. Yes, it would be, you can't get a load of media attraction to an event that has a low prize money. But then you can't put a load of money into the prize fund if you're not getting that revenue in. The Mosconi Cup is kind of the event that funds the rest of the other events, that allows for us to start new events in different territories. And I think everyone at Matchroom's looked at the pool and knows that it's something that we need to invest in for the future. But we've seen something with it. The kind of social media figures that we're driving and that we're pushing through the last 6 months of our events have been incredible. Like, we have like our world championship, which is meant to be, you know, the best event, and the viewing figures and the social media figures that we got at our recent Philippines Open beat everything. Now, is that because of the territory that we're in? I'm not sure. We had a 16-year-old kid from the Philippines who everyone knows him there locally to play money matches. That was his first professional tournament he played in. He won his first game, and then his second match, he come against the player who actually won the whole thing. And it was neck and neck, really tight. And there were just like 1,000 fans that all came in for him. He's got 1 million followers on TikTok. And we look at it and we're like, wow, something's happened here. But one of the biggest things that we did this year was we launched WNT TV. So we launched our own global television platform, which I think a lot of sports are doing. And, you know, you get to know your audience, essentially. All of those figures that come through off the back of WNT TV, we start to know what our demographic is. We know that our biggest following is the US. So, you know, a couple of years ago, we were doing one event in the US every 2 years. Now we're doing the Mosconi there, the US Open, the Florida Open, and I want to launch another US event there next year. We know that that's our base. So by launching platforms like that, that's another source. But I mean, that's not going to fund the whole tour. It's just the beginning.
Have you ever thought about doing like a match with D2C side of it being huge, right? You guys targeting the events is a massive driver of growth. Have you ever thought about doing like a Matchroom loyalty program? And what I mean by that is, oh God, I don't know, you know, the darts sells out now at whatever rate and everyone scrambles to get a ticket. It's like Glastonbury.
I know.
It's literally
it's
become
crazy.
like that, hasn't it? It's like everyone's on the computer going, oh my God, the darts tickets are out.
My phone blows up from so many people like, get me a darts ticket. I'm like, just go online. Sign up to PDC TV.
Matt's phone must be out. It must go. But, you know, let's say, you know, you have this amazing power as a collective organization where you're trying to build a sport and you've seen what's happened previously when you've done it, and yours needs a little bit more investment right now while the others have really hit their peak and are driving incredible numbers. But let's say, you know, you got the Mosconi Cup, it's in the same venue, it's in the same location. There's one day, let's say 2,000's worth of tickets of the 8,000 or whatever that we're going to run through a Matchroom loyalty program. Now, if you do this, it's going to give you a better chance of getting access to some of the darts tickets. Maybe it can help you across boxing when the fights are in there. Some form of collective Matchroom scheme where by participating or showing an interest in those individual sports can actually build that fandom across your products. Because me as a fan now, I'm looking at it, I'm going like, I'm in for whatever you guys are doing because it's awesome, right? You go and have a great experience at one of them. You're going to bring that to something else. The sport is important, but the experience is just as good. Have you guys had that type of conversation? Is that something you'd look at doing because you've got that power as a collective?
We do talk about it, and it comes up a lot more frequent purely because a lot of people mention it. Over the years, we all have like our little babies. Yeah. And, you know, multi-sport's my baby, the darts is Matt's baby, boxing is Frank's baby. And you are in that, and that's, you know, that's what you're growing. We have tried it before, but actually what you'll notice is that the audiences are so different. So the type of people that will sign up to scramble for the Ben Eubank fight aren't the people who are scrambling for a Mosconi Cup ticket. So they are all very different types of audiences. And I think as a group, it's something that we're trying to talk about a lot more. But also, we are this huge company, but we are also coming off of like a family business. We're all just trying to do the best that we possibly can for that sport. And I think sometimes that we all put our hands up and say, maybe we should step back and look at things as a group more. You know, there's definitely a crossover of if you didn't get a chance to go to the darts, do you want to go to the Mosconi Cup? And that's things that we're like rolling out. But actually, the audiences are so very different.
Mosconi Cup and darts will be different, you think?
Well, the thing is, some people are going for the sport, it's different. Some people are going for a bit of a jolly. So yes, maybe there's a percentage of that audience, but then you would say the same possibly with pool and snooker. They're both cue sports. They're both a table in the centre. They both have a seated arena, but completely different audiences, completely different. So
I look at snooker like test match cricket, and pool and from what I've seen of it, that's more like 2020. Short form, I can get up, I can have a great time. It's not all built on silence.
I know, I hate the silence.
And everyone sits there, and it's like, and it's amazing. It builds for the guys, but it's not going to. Really
I want to talk during a live event, right? If I'm going somewhere, I want to chat to my friend. Like, I want to talk. I want to be like, this is cool. I want to like move around. I don't want to just sit down, like, sort of thing. And that's, I think, one of the things that we're all so good at Matchroom is that we all see other sports. And so we attend other sports, and as a casual sports fan, what you want to go and see. Like, I remember when I first went and watched my first netball match with Matt, and we both went and watched it, and I was like, I'm bored out of my brains. But I loved netball when I grew up. Like, I loved playing it. And I was like, I'm so bored. And I was like, how do we make this more interesting? So, but you don't know that, for instance, does someone who wants to go to the Mosconi Cup also buy a ticket to our Fast 5 netball event that we did? They are very different audiences, but I guess it's just trial and error. Like, what does it hurt to send out, a mail out or something like that? But I don't know about the loyalty program. It's not something that I'm not sure. I'm not going to lie.
Do you feel under pressure when, you guys have those conversations? Because it does seem very much like my side of the business, and everyone seems really jealous of the darts, and they're crushing it. And, it's like, yes, this side of it's great, and that side of it could be better. And, but again, you're in a very different stage of it, yet probably, I'd imagine, lumped kind of into the same kind of conversation, even if you got big bad Bazza on your side, helping and really wanting this to succeed.
I'd much rather be in that conversation than in a conversation that I feel super comfortable in, where I don't feel pushed or challenged. I'd always, if there's two doors or two journeys, I'd always pick the one that looks like it's going to be the toughest one. The darts is incredible, and I would love nothing more than the pool to be as popular as the darts. It may be as popular in a different territory. Like, I already know that pool is huge in Vietnam, in the Philippines, and I know I've got more chance of selling an arena out than snooker, darts, or other sports do. Maybe not basketball. Basketball is huge over there. But I know that I could do that in that territory. And so all I'm trying to do is learn what I need to do to get pool to that level. And it's incredible here in the UK for the darts and the snooker. Doesn't mean that that's the journey I have to go through for the pool. So the best I can do is sit and listen. And I think a bit of competitiveness is great. And I think that's what Barry tries to do amongst the different sports and the companies. But at the end of the day, I respect so much of what like Matt and Frank have done, and we're all trying to achieve the same thing. But it is tough because pool is, the not so cool version of darts. But I would for now, yeah, of course. And
because like generally, dart, you have the history and you have the names attached to it, but look, this profile right now is massively different to a mass market than it was. Yeah. So things can change.
Of course. And, that's why I said, when you think back like a couple of questions ago, when you say that you have that 80% of craziness, like 100%, like I am batshit crazy, because I do believe that pool will get us to that level. And, sometimes I do talk and I'm like, yeah, but we can do this and we can do that. And I think like sometimes someone could be sat across me and they must be thinking, this bird is absolutely off. Like, what is she thinking? Like, you've got no chance in hell. But I'm just like, well, if I think positive and I think that it can get there, then, that's the players will see that positivity. I have to motivate the players. If I get them excited and I tell them that that arena's sold out and I sell that Mosconi Cup arena out for them, I'm doing that job for them, and they can go out there, they can perform, they can feel that motivation, and they will want to win for their team. So yes, I have to be a little bit crazy to think like that. But I quite like it because I like being the underdog. Everyone always roots for the underdog. When you watch any kind of sport or anything like that, you know that there's a story of the underdog coming through. You root for them, right? You do, don't you? So I'm hoping that people who watch the Netflix show kind of rooting for multisport because we are the underdog. So listen, I'll take that whilst we got it. And I know that we're under one roof and we've got the likes of Barry, who has created an absolute monster in all these different sports. How can I not succeed at pool? How can I not? And I've got all these other sports to learn from. I know pool will be big. I know it will be because, yes, I might have a cold today and I might feel like shit.
Oh, you've gone so well.
I know, I'm so sorry. But I've come along here. Do you know what I mean? And because I want to talk about pool, I want to promote it because I know it has the ability and it has the potential to do well because everyone in the world plays pool. Whether you're going out with your mates, whether you want to take someone out on a date, it's an icebreaker, and the darts was the same. And, now it's known more as the professional side of things, but everyone does go to a pool hall. In Vietnam, the pool halls there are open for 24 hours a day. Really? Yeah. And you go in there, and normally when I go to a snooker hall here or a pool hall here in the UK, it's 80% snooker tables, 20% pool. When I go to Vietnam and I go to the Philippines and I go to those areas and I go to the US, no snooker tables. They're all pool. And so I know I've got potential. So yes, it might be a different territory, but if I just keep pushing, I just keep banging on that door, then we're going to get there.
It's a different type, isn't it? Because if you walk into, let's say, any pub or any place that has a table, it's a pool table here, not a snooker table, because you have, there's a size part that helps. But there is an element of it being the social game, like darts, where the snooker, it takes more time. Most people are crap at it. So to actually play a frame of snooker takes fucking ages. And pool, is way more accessible for an average person like me to just pick up a cue and actually go and pop my colour. If I'm playing traditional pool, not 9-ball.
Don't you dare ever talk about that ever again.
What's the right?
Potting a colour.
What's the right thing to say?
Right, 9-ball pool is so basically it's the numbers 1 to 9 on the table, and you got to pot them in order.
Okay.
But you can pot the 9 at any time as long as you always hit the lowest number on the table first. So
which is what Barry did, because he hit the 2 onto the 9.
There you go.
Yeah.
But so much more fun, right?
Yeah.
Just hitting reds, yellows, there's no fun to it.
Crap, sorry,
Thank you so much. So boring, honestly, talk about that again. I'm literally going to walk straight out of it.
Spots and stripes. That was my backup. What's worse?
Let's not talk about just both of them. No, we can't talk about those.
Chronological. Start at 1, end at 9.
Exactly.
Okay, so we need to basically integrate more of those. Make that the game socially here when pool is when pool is played socially. That should be. Yeah,
it's just 9-ball's just not. It's always been English pool. Yeah. So that's just be the front runner. But there's a great club in Southwark called Spots and Stripes, and we've got 2 of our professional Rasson tables up there. It's got 9-ball branding all there. That's where Andy Goldstein goes to play and practice and stuff. And that's a cool place because it's got I think 1 or 2 snooker tables and the rest is all the proper 9-ball tables. So we just need to be doing more of that here in the UK. But again, we're trying to build a global tour. So, you can't all of a sudden just focus on the UK. We're trying to grow this globally. And I think one of the main things that I always talk about is within our 128 rankings, we have over 40 different nationalities. So we are truly global. There's a lot of sports that wouldn't have that. And we have something that actually could be so huge. And it's at that growth time. And I just can't wait to the time when it's really at that point when, I would love to have Matt's problem of people going, please can I get a ticket? Please. I would love it.
After this, you will. Massive.
All these millions of viewers listening. But obviously I would just love,
rate.
I would love to have that problem. And, you know, I know we will get there, because to be honest with you, I just won't stop until it does, because I feel like I've got that pressure on me now where I have to make that happen. So I can't fail.
I'm going to fire some quick questions at you.
Okay.
What did you find the easiest when you came to the role, and what did you find most challenging?
I've never been asked that question, the first one. What came first?
On.
Yeah, I've never been asked that. God, you stumped me.
Literally an hour to get a new question.
I think like the TV side of things, I found I've like really slipped into really well. More because I'd had that TV experience when I first started at Matchroom, and I had the best teacher, Katie Hearn. She was a director, one of the best directors at Sky Sports, and then she came over to Matchroom, which is like, so she worked outside of Matchroom first.
Come home.
Then came home, and she was one of the biggest bosses that I've ever watched in play. Like, we used to work on the poker tournaments together. Poker's actually like proper in my heart. And she used to operate in such an incredible way, and she would work incredible hours. I think I got my work ethic and confidence from her. I just watched everything that she did. And so that was something that I think coming into my role, a lot of people within that kind of role wouldn't have that TV experience. And so I felt that really came naturally to me. The challenge, I think, there's kind of two sides to it. I found that, this is going to sound so stupid, the numbers side of things, really tough. Like, I always struggled with maths. Numbers were really, really difficult for me, like real difficult. But I've said it like quite a few times, like, give me a scenario within like a pool tournament with a prize money format, or figure out how many matches you need to play with this many days, this many tables. I can get you a figure like that. Put like a maths test in front of me and I'm like, game over.
That's why we have a finance. You can count from 1 to 9, right?
Yeah.
That's as long as we could do that.
Yeah. So, and then the other side, I think that was also really challenging, was probably like dealing with like athletes, because there's so many, it's very different across the different sports. You know, athletes are just really different. And, you know, I still even find it the most challenging now, because I take everything so personally, because the World Nine Ball Tour is like my baby. And I now feel that I have this job that I have to deliver something for the athletes. I've essentially said to them, I'm going to change your lives. I'm going to create a tour that will change your career, and you will earn money. You will be able to provide for your families, and I will turn this entire sport around. So I now have to deliver on that. And so that's also quite a big challenge.
That's powerful. Okay. So I spoke to Frank before, and he told me about the time you nearly took his job.
Oh my God, he's such a drama queen.
But he wouldn't give me all the information. He just said he misbehaved, or, you know, he said to me, final warning. I was like, how many warnings do you get to?
What background did he give you?
He nearly took his job because he was on his final warning. And I was just, you know, thinking, well, if that had happened, what other part of the business would you most love to say boxing? Are you coming for his job?
No.
Once Nine Ball's gone massive, obviously. I know that whatever happens is like, that's my journey. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Like,
so if you happen to be CEO boxing, that's just your journey.
No. I need to be like I could probably take like a new sport on and like fall in love with it. As long as I'm passionate about something, I know I can do anything that I put my mind to, essentially. I know that is what I'm good at. But he was actually working for Matchroom at that point, and I was still on work experience. So I wasn't actually working for Matchroom as an employee, but he was. And so I was very much like best behavior, turning up like 2 hours early.
Feeding the alpacas.
Yeah, feeding the alpacas. No, I actually never fed the alpacas. But he turned up late, and I was there, Miss Goody Two Shoes. And so I had to fill in for, it was actually like, I remember the job, you know, like obviously the sit down interviews that you'd pre-record for the poker shows, you'd have to log them. So you'd have to log like what, you know, when the player was answering, when the reporter was asking, and, you know, if it was a good interview or not, and like the good questions and stuff. So you had to basically just sit there, listen and log it. And he was late. And so I had to step in, but I watched him get his warning and it was the funniest thing ever. So
Like when he had floppy hair.
Yes, when he had floppy hair. But it's funny and it's a talking point now from now on. But he always says, Frazer tried to take my job, but he just turned up late.
This has been dramatic. Basically wants the conversation to go back to it. Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. Okay. What sport or area do you reckon there's opportunity for you guys as a business to get involved in that you're not already?
I'm frustrated we didn't get involved in paddle. I think we missed the boat there. That's something that everyone seems to play, but I've played paddle, right? I don't know one professional player. Do you? Do you play paddle?
Yep.
Do you know a professional player? No. So actually maybe we shouldn't have got involved. But
no, that's why you should.
Yeah, maybe that's why we should.
It needs something exactly like this.
Yeah, but you don't know one professional pool player, do you?
No. Yeah, Baz.
No, come on. Actually, I've told you one.
Yeah, I know. Earl.
The Pearl.
Pearl.
Yes,
Oh, the Pearl.
Earl the Pearl. Oh, God, yeah. So
Andy Goldstein.
And Andy Goldstein. He'd love to be called a professional. So yeah. But do you know what I mean? Though everyone plays paddle, but I
that's
don't
why
know
it's an
a pro.
opportunity.
Yeah, maybe there is an opportunity there.
Because that's what you guys do the best, right? You bring an environment, an atmosphere, a professionalism, an event. Like you bring it to people.
Yeah.
Paddle, it's huge. Everyone, it's like the new golf as well. Everyone's, it's like, we can be social with it. We don't need to go out and spend 4 hours on a course and do it, but you could do it across work. You do it socially. You can.
But would you go and watch professional paddle tournaments?
Yeah, they're amazing.
Really?
Have you seen the professional stuff?
No,
look it up online. I mean, honestly, like they're hitting shots from outside the court and everything. It's good. It is good, but it hasn't been professionalized, should we say, like en masse in the way that you professionalize sport.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, this is your question, not mine. So.
Well, no, I'm just let me get Paul over the line first.
Okay. Can I come in and do paddle?
and then I'll do paddle. I'll try and go into paddle
before boxing.
Before boxing. I think there's loads of sports out there. We get approached for so many. I think I got approached for axe throwing, which gives me so many questions. Like, there's so many risk assessments that I do not want to get involved in. But like,
was that in the US?
I don't know, it was here. Really? So, yeah.
You've never been to an axe throwing place?
No, I have not, because I don't want to get an axe thrown at my head. I feel far too important.
You don't stand at the
No,
head,
it gives me. But I think this gymnastics is an interesting one, because everyone loves gymnastics because they do things that look impossible. But it comes around every 4 years. It's not, there's a reason why prize money doesn't exist, because it's not commercialized. The gymnasts earn money through their own sponsorships off of the back of obviously the Olympics and things like that. And there are so many sports that you can do so much with, but sometimes there are so many associations that, have a sort of their grip on things, and you can't really change things to the sport, because the thing is, you have to change things up. 9-ball pool, there was never like a shot clock or anything like that. So we've introduced things that, some of the federations would, probably still throwing a dart at my face for. But I believe that I'm in this position to make tough decisions. And, if I get offended at every time that someone doesn't like a decision that I make, then I would never move forward. So I'd much rather be making decisions and doing things like that. And so, we got a big task on our hands with Paul. We only launched the World 9-Ball Tour like 3 years ago. So when you think about where darts was and where snooker was 3 years into their tour, we've still got a lot of work to do. But obviously I'm just very ambitious, and I'm very, very impatient that I want it to be done sooner rather than later. And then, hopefully we'll move on to another sport and do the same there. I'd love to be known for being able to do that.
Few better places to end. I've loved it. Thank you so much. It's been
You're
so
welcome.
cool to hear about it, and so nice to have the best person from Matchroom in the show. Finally.
Save the best till last.
But seriously, thank you. It's been great.
Thank you.